Okay, so this is a diamond DPS player on Anubis, and really great on this first fight that you identify the Widow and go and kill her. If she stays there, regardless of you not paying attention to the rest of the team, if she stays up there, your team's is going to really struggle. So it's worth sacrificing quite a lot to get that kill a lot of the time. Especially when you're really just taking a 1v1 to do it. So yeah, good job you did that. Um, Also here, I think you spot the Ana, you go for it straight away. Really good to get that kill. I would like to have seen you wait a little bit more here though. Like, so Genji has these two main phases. He has the more tactical phase where he's just sort of poking and looking for targets, and then he has that brawl phase, where he goes in with his dash, starts throwing right clicks out, starts trying to frag out, and it's it's not often that you get a chance to go from the brawling stage after you go and get kills. It's not often that you get a chance to go from that back to the stage where you can sort of take your time, look for targets. Yeah, but you've been given a really great chance here just to sort of chill in this doorway. While your Orisa is already a contesting point, and just look for these targets. And if you had spent a little bit more time here, if you'd had a little bit more patience, you would have seen that you could have probably just dropped on this Zarya here and killed her. Instead you you waste your dash straight away on this brig, and now you're just stuck in no man's land basically, and you just get burnt down because you don't have your resources. Try and bear in mind how much of a commitment it is to pull your dash into a fight, because if you'd taken a little bit more time and had a little bit more patience, you probably wouldn't have wasted your dash here without getting a reset. And that's really what screws you here. When you look at these high level Genjis, it seems like they're just sort of dashing from target to target and deleting them without spending too much time. But really, they do know, like these high level Genjis, they do know the targets that they're going for, and generally they're on top of the kills that they can actually get. So don't be afraid to take your time in between these targets that you dash onto, especially when you're given a really great opportunity like that to sort of step back while no one's shooting at you, and then just take your time and decide what target you're going for. Yeah, so you're on second point here. Just skip forward a little bit. Actually, I think we're okay. Yeah, okay. So you dash onto this Reinhardt, get the kill, great. And I'm not going to go too in depth on this because I'm pretty sure you've realised it was a misplay afterwards. But I'm not sure why you didn't see like a chance here to go for a defensive dash. Really don't be afraid of using your dash defensively. Especially when you're about to die, right? You had a pretty good chance here to maybe dash up on top of the mushroom, just on top of this pillar. Especially because you're looking for blade as well. That would have given you quite a good line of sight for the blade afterwards. Really sloppy not to react in time to the fact this brig is actually going to kill you. Maybe you're trying to save your dash for blade, who knows? But yeah, just a thing to keep an eye out for. Okay, so we're on your attack round now, and you switch Widow, but your rollout is pretty sloppy. You just sort of run straight out of spawn and grapple up onto the archway. Now, the first, or actually maybe not the first peak, but one of the important peaks you should be aware of is this one right here to the high ground by the Mega. I might overlay something actually, just so you know what I'm talking about. You really don't want to get caught out by people playing in this position. A lot of Zens like to play up here too, and sometimes you can catch a sort of free kill up there sometimes. So you definitely want to sort of scout that first. And the second thing about scouting is that you don't really try and assess what comp the enemy team are playing before you jump up onto this high ground. You see, you grapple straight up there, and very, very luckily for you, there's not an enemy Widow sitting, up on top of, just next to point here. She's not sitting up there with her shot already charged up, and she doesn't delete you straight away. Even so, I think the entire enemy team is playing up on top of the stage. As you rank up, you will get deleted, so fast if you jump up here like this, without any scouting beforehand. So definitely try and take your time and try and work out what threats that you're going to have for you after you jump up there. Luckily for you, you get away because of the Mercy Pocket and, because the Hands of the Creed didn't hit enough shots on you. But, really, really sloppy to run straight out spawn and jump straight up onto the archway without any scouting at all. Even if you just waited for your team to walk forward so you know what DPS the enemy are playing, that would have been a lot better than jumping straight up here and almost dying. So I just got the screen up so you can see the team comps. So you jumped up on top of Archway, and the entire team were behind Rhine Shield and Brig, and you immediately said, you know, oh, I'm going to go switch. I'm going to switch off Widow. I can't do anything against this comp. I would have liked to have seen you maybe give it, you know, one more try as Widow. Um, you know, it's difficult to, you know, get any shots off versus a team that's playing entirely behind Ryan Shield. But if you look at your comp, there's going to come a point where, you know, maybe the Sombra goes past them and touches point. You know, maybe even the Winston jumps over the top of them. There is going to come a point where, you know, they split up and they back up to contest point. And it's in that situation, you know, where maybe then you want to grapple up on top of the archway and look for these shots. You know, the only reason you couldn't get anything off Widow is because you know, you went up really fast. The enemy team was basically just set up for you and just waiting. Um, if you'd waited a little bit longer, you know, for them to sort of split up, or you know, maybe the Sombra to touch point, so they start backing off, you know, then you might have been able to get something off Widow. So yeah, I think you switched off a little bit too early here. Yeah, so you switch Junkrat instead of Widow, but you don't really use your strengths at all here. You know, Junkrat, especially when you're playing versus, you know, McCree and Hanzo, who are really great at range, you really need to, you know, use not only your range, but, you know, your sort of arced projectiles too. Um, you know, this room in here with the mini is, you know, is quite good, or maybe the one on your right, just past this bridge. You could be sort of chilling around there, just sort of throwing shots out. Instead, you just sort of you run in, you know, you use all of your mines for repositioning too, which is an interesting thing. And you just get stuck in these places that you just sort of have no business being in. Not entirely sure, you know, what you're going for here, but you know, again, as Junkrat, you know, the same thing as Widow. You want to try and be aware of, you know, where the enemy are playing and, you know, what threats they have for you. You just sort of, you know, ran in here with no idea, you know, where they were or who could kill you. And, you know, that's the main reason why you died. You know, you didn't know the Zarya was still behind you. You didn't know they had, you know, both of their DPS still on stage here. If you'd taken a bit more time, you know, used your range, use a bit more cover, then you'd have done a lot better. And you get rest here too. And, you know, the moment you get rezzed, let's just go back to it. The moment you get rezzed, Zarya pops bubble. There's really no shame in popping this bubble straight away. You know, it's only going to take you, you know, two pipes, and, you know, let's be honest, you're not gonna miss against the Zarya bubble. You know, and then you have 3 pipes. You know, you have a mine off cooldown. You have a fairly good chance of killing the Zarya at this range, right? If you burst this shield, if you burst this bubble straight away, and then you go for it. Instead, you sort of, I think you hit her once, you miss a few shots, you waste a mine for no reason, you chill around here, and then you die. You know, not trying to kill that Zarya was, I guess it was okay if you were, you know, going for a really fast reset, but that didn't really seem like what you were doing. Yeah, so definitely, you know, don't be afraid of popping these Zarya bubbles when you feel like you can burst her down super fast at close range. You know, you can catch out quite a few Zaryas as Junkrat by doing that. So you actually go left side here and use some cover for once, you know, and start sort of spamming onto stage. But, you know, again, you weren't really aware of the risks. You know, the moment this mine gets destroyed, or sorry, not mine, the moment this trap gets destroyed, you really want to think about backing up, because you have no real, you know, defense if they try and push you, and which is exactly what happens. You know, as soon as this trap gets destroyed, you really want to think about backing up. Maybe because you're on this left side, you could think about maybe mining up to that the window behind you. You see quite a lot of Genjis going for that flank, but, you know, you can make that with a miner's Junkrat. You know, in fact, I probably would have liked to see you stay on this right side by the doorway. It's always good to have a rough escape plan. You know, instead you just sort of really overcommit to this room and you're not ready to back up in time. You know, they destroy your trap, they push past you. You know, purely because you didn't really react to the, you know, the threats, like the threats that they had for you as soon as this this trap goes down. Yeah, so I don't know how much more I'm going to say about this VOD, because you are just sort of intentionally feeding at this point. And to be honest, there's no way that you're not aware of that. But we'll see if anything else comes up. Okay, so one last thing. You switch Reaper and you get into this insane position behind the enemy team, right? You're a really, really good position. But you don't hold it. I think you thought they saw you here, which is why you start backing up. You end up going low ground to point. Now this position is really great for you, because, you know, you can just sort of drop behind them at the same time your team engages from frontline, and, you know, you're going to have a really great fight there. And to be honest, it doesn't really matter at all that they saw you here. First off, they have no one that can really contest you. Maybe the Hanzo can hit a lucky headshot if he wall climbs up. But you have a pretty good chance of winning that duel if he does come up. You can always wraith into the mega room behind you and fight him around that doorway. But even if they know you're here, it's not really that much of a problem. Because they're going to be thinking about you. You're putting pressure on them just by being here. Maybe the Brig or the McCree are trying to hold their stuns for you, so those aren't going to hit your team. And the other thing is, you don't really have that much responsibility to be in frontline anyway. You don't put on range poke damage, and you don't really have a responsibility to sort of draw fire either. So your team isn't really losing that much from you being here in the first place. So I definitely would like to see you stay here. Instead, you sort of back up. You drop down here, you go low ground, and then now your team only has sort of one angle of attack. And in general, especially when you're playing DPS, it's sometimes good to take that responsibility for being the second angle of attack. You don't. It doesn't necessarily have to be a big sort of long hard flank. It can just be a sort of soft flank where you're at a slight angle to your team. It just helps put that pressure on, and it's going to help you in a lot of your fights. But instead you engage in the same direction as your team. You're massively sort of out of effective range, and really there's nothing you can do here on this hero. So much better if you'd have stayed up on high ground and dropped behind them. Okay, so I've talked about quite a lot of different things. I guess the main one is going to be taking a bit more time and being more sort of aware of the enemy team. Not just targets that you can kill, but also what threats they have for you. Probably one of the big things overall for you is going to be trying to, just focus a bit more on your own play. You spent quite a lot of this game, complaining about, I think it was the Sombra on your team. Whereas realistically, right, you made a lot of mistakes that had a direct impact on whether your team actually won fights or not. And the reason why you sort of fed so much throughout this world is probably just because you were so tilted at the Sombra. It's quite difficult to improve attitude sometimes, but really just try and focus on your own play. Think about the mistakes that you're making, and trust me, there are quite a lot of them. Don't get stuck up on other heroes on your team that aren't even necessarily throwing, right? You just weren't too happy with them. You are, the only consistent factor in all of your games, and also the only factor that you can actually directly improve. So really try and focus on your own game first, because it's also one of the better ways to help with tilt. Just keep thinking about your own mistakes and keep improving from game to game, and you'll feel a lot better about these games if you can actually feel yourself improve, even if you do lose.